A love story indeed. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce could have had literally anything at their wedding. They rented one of the world's most famous arenas, reportedly invited more than 1,000 guests, and had performances from music legends. Yet the details everyone is talking about today aren't about the celebrity sightings or the price tag. They're the handwritten vows, their brothers standing beside them, a friend officiating, and asking guests not to bring their phones in. So what does that tell us about what really makes a wedding unforgettable? We are joined by one of Milwaukee's premier event planners, David Caruso of Dynamic Events. Thanks for being here.
Wow. Thank you so much for having me. This is, after such a big weekend, I'm so happy to be here to chat about this.
Everybody is talking about it. You told me something that really stuck with me. You said the scale creates the spectacle. The personal details create the memory. Explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, I mean, this is what is so exciting for a person like me in the industry, is that what you're hearing people comment about mostly is that although 1,000 people, it really did feel special and almost intimate, but very personal. And I'm so happy because I was wondering, Madison Square Garden,
right?
Like, what are we going to do? So I'm really happy that the attention was paid to the details, because truly, that is what makes the experience so special, is making it something that's really about, intrinsically who you are.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, too, because before we knew some of the details of this and we found out that Madison Square Garden was likely where it was going to be, so many people questioned that and thought it's such a big space and how can they do that? I actually brought your name up. This is before I reached out to you to come on today. But I said, but think about like a David Caruso here in Milwaukee, all of the amazing ways he can transform a venue. You can make a large venue feel intimate and special. You can do amazing things with just about anything, can't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Taylor really is one of the greatest storytellers in the world. So for her to have a place like Madison Square Garden, where it really was a blank canvas, a place where they could do whatever they wanted. And like you said earlier, having all the money in the world doesn't guarantee a well-done wedding or a fun time for your guests. So that's what really turned this into something extraordinary, is for people that were there who have, when you think of the audience, they've experienced everything really. So How then do you take on the challenge of making this something that is personal for Taylor and Travis, but extraordinary and long-lasting and full of memories for the people that have been there? And I've heard that they really achieved, they hit the mark, and Madison Square Garden for a variety of reasons. But when you think about it, the security was perfect. It was in a space where you couldn't see anything from the outside. It was very, very private that way. So it really did help from even just a security point of view. Logistics, what I love most is seeing it's still only a couple of days and yet to be seen exactly what was created inside of the garden, but it was spectacular nonetheless. So seeing what they pulled off is something I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this is going to be a once-in-a-generation wedding. Why can't we get any glimpses of it? But I'm sure they are.
We will.
Yeah, they're going to make sure that they can control it. But that's the goal for every bride, David, to have a once-in-a-generation wedding. What makes a once-in-a-generation wedding?
That's what's really cool, is that for this once in a generation, what we think about is just kind of doing what you want to do. We're kind of past this idea of you have to follow the rules when it comes to weddings. So I love that they had like brothers she had her brother as her man of honor, and he had his brother as his best man. And it's kind of like taking traditions and making sure that it has your own twist and your own style. And I think that is really where we've learned that you can spend a lot of money, but it's really about how you make people feel. And I think, to your point, this once in a generation wedding is, how did they make people feel? And what are people going to leave remembering? And it's really kind of this difference between expensive and extraordinary. And I think that what we're going to see in the coming days in terms of imagery and photos is that they really did that very well.
Their vows reportedly lasted about 20 minutes each. And when I saw that, I went, whoa, I think I said it out loud. What does that tell you, though, about the priorities for the ceremony? And these days, are more people writing their own? I know my husband and I, we wrote our own actually the night before, which would probably freak a lot of people out. But that's kind of, I live on a deadline, and that worked for him, too. But everybody's so individualized. I'm just wondering with what you see these days, are more people writing their own or kind of sticking with it? And is there a point where it becomes too long, or what's that nice sweet spot?
Well, when I heard that too, the 20 minutes, for each of them, I think they can do that well. But any everyday person, I would say that is definitely something to, skip or for sure edit.
Yeah.
That's too long. But one of the things that I have seen a lot of people doing, I think it's really nice too, is that you can even do that just kind of personally between the two of you, exchange vows or personal statements sometimes where you're doing your vows in front of your guests and special people that are there for you. And then maybe you want to take some time for a more lengthy personal statement and just have that as a moment between the two of you. Sometimes we capture that on video or with photography, and it lets that moment live on for the two of you. But the key is, edit those times. Yes, people are there to celebrate you. I do think because of Taylor's excellent storytelling, and who knows what this is going to turn into in terms of documentaries or books or whatever, that was probably necessary. But for sure, one of the ways that they really pronounced that we want this about the two of us, this is a love story, and we really want you to hear it.
Does privacy always equal intimacy? Because I'm thinking, yes, I didn't feel like, or my wedding wasn't a private ceremony, but I still felt intimate because I had my family and friends there and didn't have any distractions. So how much of a luxury is privacy?
This is something money can't buy, is privacy. It's so important. And I think what's neat is this idea that we're learning where there weren't phones allowed and people weren't able to take pictures or videos. And that really, I think, has a big influence on how intimate a wedding of this size and scale can feel. Because what it really did is it made people experience it. They actually had to be in the moment and be with them and experience it. And so the privacy aspect was there for a couple of reasons. But in terms of the guest experience, I think it most likely, and from what I'm hearing, made it so much more special. And it gave it that intimate feeling because you were all in it. You were in it together and nobody was distracted by a phone.
So when I think about all of our fans listening right now, whether they are about to plan a wedding of their own or they maybe have a family member or friend who is, what would you suggest? So forget Taylor and Travis for a moment, but for all of our Wisconsin families and the people from other states listening as well, do you suggest that, you're probably not going to say, hey, don't bring your phones in, but as far as taking pictures, I know photography was very important for me. I love great pictures. I love great video. So I spent money on a great photographer and somebody who could create that video as well. So I thought, we're spending the money on this. I don't really want to see everybody's phones up in the videos, but there's also the flip side to that, because you might have somebody in the audience who captures a moment that maybe they miss, or maybe they're just close to something and they get that incredible moment. So I think there's like a little give and take to that. Do you have people who ask you for your advice on that? And what do you suggest?
Yeah, it's an excellent point. And I think compromise is one of the biggest ways to make everybody happy in a wedding, of course. And for me, I like to suggest that during the ceremony to ask people not to have their phones. But during the party, why not? Capture those moments, let people do their thing. And oftentimes there are great resources and ways with social media that you can capture all of those after your event. So you can have those as your own memories too. But I do say, you prioritized how you spent your money for your wedding, which is excellent. Because one of my top tips is just do not spread your budget across 50 unforgettable things. Definitely prioritize, focus on those elements. And just remember, you can have an elegant, beautiful, classy wedding, but it has got to be fun. And that's the biggest thing, is just have fun.
That leads me to what I was going to ask you, because luxury doesn't always mean serious. It could mean you could do a bunch of fun things. Like you said, you can combine tradition along with something that you may want to do. How do you make sure that you have a good balance of both?
Yeah, I think what's neat is that, you want to make sure that you're being very thoughtful. I always say, how are we going to surprise and delight people? You're kind of taking people on this emotional journey. And through it, that's where this balance comes. You want to just not think of it as ceremony, cocktail reception, dinner, dancing. It's how are things evolving? And that is, to me, one of the biggest ways to achieve that fun factor and to still make it highly personalized is just to let the party and the evening and the experience evolve. Don't give it all up at the beginning. Let things happen. Surprise people along the way. Keep introducing new elements or new things. And those are the types of moments that it doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but they're moments that create the memories that people will walk away saying, they're not talking about how much money you spent, but what they're talking about is what you did and how it made them feel and how they have never seen a wedding like that before. And it will always be remembered.
I'm kind of glad I was broke and camera phones weren't around when I got married 21 years ago. It's a lot of things to consider when you're planning a wedding nowadays.
So much. I got married later in life, and I feel like one of the things I really appreciated was I didn't feel like I had to do what everybody else did or follow these traditions. I thought we should do what is personal for us. And as an example, wedding cakes are great, but a lot of times I don't personally love them.
Eat them.
My husband doesn't either. Yeah, a lot of times you just see the cake pieces sitting there. So I thought, let's do something different. I love Bananas Foster, the dessert. And so we had somebody who came, and there was a Bananas Foster station. And so they were the chef was creating it at the time, had the little, sparkles that kind of sparkle up. My husband loves ice cream sundaes. So we had a station for ice cream sundaes where you had all of the toppings. And it was just something different. It was something we liked. And I think it lasted with people as well. It was different. But the reason I bring that up as well is I felt like just being older, that was part of it. I felt like I didn't have to follow any rules, so to speak. But it seems to be that the younger generation is starting to do that as well. Would you agree that they're kind of doing it their own way?
I definitely agree. I definitely do. I always say, don't do tradition just for tradition's sake. Do what you're comfortable with. Do what's important to you. And I think that things like the wedding cake versus Bananas Foster or whatever, that definitely makes people think this was totally Jessica. We know that, your husband loves the ice cream, so that was perfect. Those kinds of things are what I always tell people. Skip tradition if it doesn't work for you. Create your own personal experience. And I also think that one of the things that young people are doing a lot is this concept that was very prominent so far in Taylor and in Travis's wedding is the idea of branding. And, they created this kind of logo, what sometimes we would refer to as a monogram, but this even was a little bit with a twist. And it doesn't feel corporate, but it really is a fun, I think we're going to be seeing this in every wedding moving forward. Again, not like a traditional monogram, but like they did the just T and T or married and that kind of stuff is going to be something really fun coming up that I think people are going to love.
Well, I love it. We were going to play a quick game of steal it, skip it, splurge on it, but actually you kind of answered all of those questions as is, and we are running out of time here. David Caruso of Dynamic Events, thank you so much. You put on amazing weddings, and it's great to localize this and kind of take from this amazing celebrity wedding what we could actually do here in Wisconsin to the rest of us. We appreciate it.
Oh, it was so much fun. Thank you.